Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my opinion. This first test match has come to a close. South Africa have won this match by 30 runs. They secured their first win in India since 2010. Well done to them. After reviewing the proceedings that took place on day one, I thought India would win because they were in a very good position in stumps. At stumps on day two, I believed India would win, but I thought theoretically you saw what happened against New Zealand where they faltered against spin. I had that very slightly in the back of my mind, but I believed India would win. And some people are saying early on in day three, Bumrah and Jadeja should have been brought on straight away rather than being delayed, and that enabled South Africa to get a few runs. And Shubman Gill couldn't play a part with a bat in this match due to the injury, and he's been discharged from hospital now. According to me, 124 runs, even without Shubman Gill being able to play a part. If you're comparing the India team and the South Africa team, India's batting has got players who are averaging at least 40. South Africa's batsmen, many of them averaging in the low 30s. We're comparing the bowling attacks, where that didn't come into play at the end. From an India point of view, they still should have chased this score down. But if you're looking at the South Africa bowling attack, Marco Jansen, after the new ball, is he generally effective, especially in the subcontinent? I wouldn't say so. Wian Modab, I'd said when reviewing the day one proceedings that I don't think he was going to be the solution, and he hasn't. He can move the ball a bit with the new ball, but I didn't think he was going to be a solution in this case, especially as second opening bowler, and he didn't bowl after that. Corbin Bosch didn't hit the correct lengths. Keshav Maharaj went at about 4 and over in the first innings. So Simon Harmer has picked up 4 wickets in each innings. And not discounting that, but I feel if you're considering that as a collective, would you say India chasing 124 runs on, albeit a challenging surface to bat on? Do you think that this attack would have stopped them from getting over the line? I don't think it should have done, and I think it's a very disappointing loss for India considering where they were in the earlier days in terms of being in a position to win the match. Techniques have been talked about, including, in this case, defending against spin. And you've got a few players who have been playing well in the last few years, but in the same situations, they've been dismissed. And you've seen India drawing the series 2-2 in England. You saw what happened in the West Indies series, where the type of surface they produce, a traditional surface in the subcontinent, the first 3 days good for batting, the last 2 days as spinners come into play. This wasn't that kind of a surface. With the rumours, I thought to leave a bit of grass on the surface, and apparently the pitch wasn't watered, so we saw what happened. But I think a few of the players have been dismissed in the same situations despite playing well in the last 2 years. And technically, I don't think that's been worked on and how they wouldn't be dismissed in those cases. I think that's got to be improved on. And people are criticizing Gautam Gambhir for saying that this is the surface that he wanted. And I have responded to I think a few of those posts at least saying that he was correct in what he said, because despite me saying, and I said this in the preview video as well, that India have won for 12 years at home when batting on traditional subcontinental surfaces, I feel if you're comparing the India team and the South Africa team, India should have won this match because in batting and bowling they had the better resources and they couldn't do so. So I think having said that, now you've seen what's happened against New Zealand, now you've seen what happened against South Africa. India should be able to win on the surface, but for the next match, I think the better thing to do would be to go back to what they did in the West Indies series, produce a traditional subcontinental surface and see how they go with that. It is very disappointing that India haven't managed to win in this case, and I feel you're looking at the top 8 as far as the batting is concerned. The reason why I'm saying technical is because there is no one in terms of personnel who can better the top 8, and I spoke about in the review of day one how it's a fantastic bang that up, and I stand by that. However, when I say there is no one who can replace these players and yet you see this happening, then you know it's got to be something technical, and I hope that it's worked on that hasn't been worked on since the New Zealand series. As far as the 11s for the next match, I think the playing 11 would be the same for India, but for South Africa, I think there's a case for Sananan Muthuswamy to play. I think it will improve the batting and the bowling. And I don't know who Rabada will play ahead of if they keep Simon Harmer in the 11, or maybe if they think they don't need Muthuswamy, I don't know. If they want to take a gamble, they could play Rabada ahead of Calvarena, especially given the surface that India, or whichever surface India are going to produce, Rabada would get into this team if he's fit. And another thing, I spoke about the inconsistency of Ryan Rickleton. And when he's been opening the batting, I feel Tony Zorzi can open, Ryan Rickleton can bat at 5. And instead of Carverina, if Ryan Rickleton keeps, you get a keeper there and you may get an increased output from Rickleton with a bat. So I think that's what they can do, but let's see what they do. If you enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe, share with friends. This is my opinion. What's yours?